after hours. But the reality is, if you Google Earth, Evans as an example, and look at their track they run on, it's not a track, it's a dirt dug-in path that you can see from space. I've ran on this track. My daughter's at Evans, so I know it's not even a track. It's a dirt path. I ran on it. I know it has issues. Football field bleachers, we have no bleachers at our middle schools. We need to add that, as well as renovate the locker rooms I touched on earlier, and some other basic campus-specific improvements. High school athletics, installing artificial field turf at the 4 high school practice fields. We spend $40,000 to $60,000 a year on these fields to get them resodded every year. And then we go ahead and dump the precious water on them for the rest of the year. We can maintain a turf field for 10 to 12 years or longer, the shelf life, and we can also expand our soccer programs and our community programs to utilize these fields. Oftentimes we've got these fields blank and they can't be used after the football team plows them down, so I'm trying to get grass to grow back on them. So we think we can make a cost-effective solution there. Several of the tracks have chunks taken out of them, so it's time to resurface those tracks as well. And some other baseball, softball field improvements, some canopies for the shades if you've been out to those campuses, and some other campus-specific improvements there. Lowry Stadium is, for lack of a better term, a lot of times the face of our district. As people come here for band concerts, for football games, for soccer games, oftentimes that's all they see. When you go to a game or an event at Lowry Field, there are tremendous needs there. As far as ADA compliance, as far as the parking lot, and security. Several of the Lowry Field improvements fall into other areas. They could very well, several be categorized as security issues. Currently, the baseball team gets their cars broken into while they're at practice at Lowry Field, so we've had to erect some temporary fencing. We feel it's in the best needs of the district and the students to go ahead and fence that in. What we're doing at Lowry Field specifically is the 2-level press box with a filming deck. Currently, our press box is not ADA compliant. We can't get up there, and it really, if you've ever been in it, it's a challenge. We're going to replace the locker room and dressing room. It is very dated, and really the functional life there is past. A new freestanding concession and locker room, restroom buildings. That's a safety issue. That's a concern with many parents and many students and many young siblings. If you go to an event there and you send your 9 or 10-year-old down to get a Coke, it is a very congested area, and the police department agrees with us. We need to bring those concessions out and disperse that crowd. It's a crowd control issue. It's a safety issue. If you're above this high, which my son's this high, and you just get lost in the traffic. When you look at ADA accessibility, it's not an option, it's a reality. We need to make our facilities ADA compliant. We're adding a southwest bowl ramp entrance. Right now we've got a very congested problem there on the north for getting in and out of the facility. And by doing so, we're also going to be able to expand some parking. We want to get as much parking as we can on the facility within a fenced area. We have people that come to compete and come to see their children compete in different venues, and their cars are broken into as they're along the streets. So we want to get as much as we can into the parking lots. The school auditorium and renovation upgrades, seating, sound systems, stage and theatrical systems, these are all outdated. I challenge you to go to a high school and not have audio-visual difficulties. It's in every presentation you go to. Those are the arts and athletics, the lion's share of those pieces. As we switch to technology, and Karen touched on this before, I want to make sure we're clear. There was a question as to what the terms of these bonds are going to be. We're not doing anything for a year. It was imperative to us that we match the bonds to the useful life of the systems. So technology will be in every bond package for the rest of our existence. The technology changes so dramatically. The schools, Texas Tech, that are educating today's teachers for tomorrow, when they come out of the school, they're armed with the technology, with the capability to do so many things in the classroom. And yet when they get to certain classrooms, they can't utilize that learning. They can't utilize that teaching experience because those tools don't exist in our classrooms today. We have classrooms today that have one plug and one wall, and we're going to run that classroom off that. That's not reality in today's teaching environment. And so those teachers that want to teach here will look elsewhere if we don't have the correct technology to help them teach their children. Classroom technology we're looking at, and one thing backing up too, just to be clear, our goal was to identify need and not want. When we say the technology, we're bringing this up to a standard. By no means are any of these items, these things, Taj Mahal. Just about every district around us has these things for the most part, or has better versions of these things. We're getting a very basic standard, which we feel like we can get all classrooms to make it fair for every teacher. The short throw projectors, the sound systems, the document cameras, the laser printers, these are things we've had in our houses and that we've utilized for years. Still aren't in some of our classrooms. and yet we're expecting our children to learn how to use these technologies and go out and compete. That's not a reality. It's not a realistic expectation. Wireless internet at every school, student computers, staff computers. Currently, we operate and service our own computers. We do that to save money. However, we have several computers that are past their shelf life so far that we can only get parts for them. You can't get the parts for them, and so it becomes a very laborious process. And I touched on earlier the electrical and infrastructure upgrades. Just getting to a standard, reiterating, these are not luxury items. And then we go to, okay, I got two presentations going here. Safety and security. When we look at the needs in our district, and we look at how we protect the kids and keep them safe while they're in the schools, that's probably one of the charges the committee took the most serious, because it is important. You can pick up the paper just about every week, it seems like, and there are unfortunate events out there. I'm not saying you can prevent everything, but you can sure put some safeguards in place that help us accommodate the parents' wishes of keeping their children safe while they're in a learning environment. And so we look at things that, once again, other schools have, other schools utilize, other schools find successful. Video systems and cameras to allow us to monitor not only halls, but to have any type of evidence or any type of proof if needed. Building access control systems, the reality is we have keys all over the place to all of our buildings, and a lot of the buildings you see today are card controlled. We're looking to do that in our buildings where we can turn off someone's access immediately if we need to. We don't have to worry about a key being gone or maybe someone having access to a key. Visitor registration systems. We need to know who are in our halls, and we need to know how they got in the halls, and if, for instance, if they have any past prior criminal activities or convictions, we need to know that as educators, and I, as a parent, want that. Employee student badging, we want to know if someone's walking down the hall and they don't have a badge, we need to know who they are. Unfortunately, that's the world we live in. The campuses and districts around us have this technology, and parents do appreciate knowing that their children are protected in this manner. Security lighting, if you've been around to meet the schools in the last few weeks as they prepared for schools, not just for our students, but for the teachers, they're up there early in the morning when it's dark, and they're up there late at night when it's dark. And I know this because I live across the street from one of the schools. The security lighting needs to be adequate, not state-of-the-art, but adequate. Perimeter campus fencing, these are the fences that encompass the playground areas. In several campuses, you can see the fencing is maybe halfway done or not quite all the way around. So our goal there is to prevent balls from rolling in the streets, because that happens. The life safety building upgrades, the fire alarms, the glass transoms in some of the older buildings, these have to be replaced and upgraded. And the ADA accessibility in a lot of the facilities has to be upgraded. That's just reality. High school cafeterias, this is a tough one, and it's a hot button issue, but we're behind the times here. Lubbock was an agricultural community, and we had open classrooms, or excuse me, open campuses for lunch. We wish, when we call this bond, to close our campuses for grades 9 through 12. It's a safety issue, and Lubbock Police Department, I think they back us up on this, and they've got data to show that nothing good happens at lunch, and that's the reality. We have increased absenteeism after lunch. We deal with more drug and alcohol issues after lunch, and we have several kids that don't come back after lunch. The LPD has data that shows during the summer, the crime rate during the lunch hour goes down. During the school year, the crime rate in the lunch hour goes back up. I think I heard today we had a fight across the street from one of the schools during lunch. So we feel that's important, and if you've ever been around one of the high school campuses during lunch and seen the kids crossing the street, that's a tremendous safety issue. It's a matter of time before the kids rolled up under a car, and we feel like it's just time to act as a district. The Lowry Stadium site, once again, I touched on that perimeter fencing, security features with gating and signage, as well as lit side lighting. We want to make that the district, you know, when people do see that, it needs to be that it's well maintained. It's a very good, you see it from the loop, and it looks great. Then if you get up to it and you get near the building, and you go in the restrooms, you see there are some challenges there. That's the majority of the safety and security. And when we started doing this, we wanted to make sure that every committee member came from different parts of the community and came from maybe what they thought was their special project. Well, I want to do this because I want to take care of my project, my little school. We wanted to touch every child. We wanted to touch every campus, because some campuses' needs were greater than others, but at the end of the day, there had to be a sense of equity as we did this program. So we really focused on touching every child, every campus in the 4 areas. And we feel like